I'm Jewish.
Okay. Which month is Jewish History Month?
There isn't one.
Oh. Why not?
Yeah.
Do you want one?
No.
I don't either.
You know, I'm in a place in my life where this is great for sports. It's great for football. But what would even be greater is that going down the road, we don't have to mention that these guys are black quarterbacks. They're just quarterbacks.
Alright, hi guys, welcome back to the second half of this video. I'm going to go ahead and read a email we got, and we're going to talk about this email. It says, hi ladies, I really enjoy your content. I don't agree with everything you say, but I like that you two stand in your opinions. My questions are, what are your thoughts on Black History Month? Also, I am noticing a lot of people I notice a lot of people speaking on racism not being real. What are your thoughts on that? Keep up the good work. His name is DeMarcus. That was DeMarcus. Okay, so thank you, DeMarcus, for the email. So Black History Month. Now, this made me think of Morgan Freeman. I'm going to play this clip real quick of Morgan Freeman, so basically we all laugh. But I feel the way he feels. Now, he said I feel his way, but I'm going to go ahead and put the clip up now, and we'll watch it.
Black History Month, you find
Ridiculous.
why?
You're going to relegate my history to a month?
Oh, come on.
What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month? No, come on, tell me.
Well, I'm Jewish.
Okay. Which month is Jewish History Month?
There isn't one.
Oh. Why not?
Yeah.
Do you want one?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man. I know you as Mike Wallace. You know me as Morgan Freeman.
So that's is there another part to that? I feel like there was a little bit long, but okay. But anyway, so when DeMarcus wrote this, I made me think of that because when I first heard Morgan Freeman say that years ago, I actually didn't. That's back in my Democratic years. Mm-hmm. I just thought, well, this is no. What are you talking about, Morgan? This is not right. But this is exactly how I feel. It's, what did he say? Stop talking about it. Now, the simplicity of that answer, it's like it gets people in an uproar over it because what they're going to say is that he is like selling out and he's trying to not acknowledge his blackness. That's what they always say. And I acknowledge his blackness by saying that. But I've always felt, and I've said this a million times, that we always, black people, so many of us, pretty much majority of us, are always separating ourselves from our own country. And we get treated differently because of it, right? Mm-hmm. But then we get mad that the white people are not treating us the same. It's like, but you're separating yourself. We always put race before everything. Mm-hmm. And we have got to stop doing that. The more we do, it does not mean that you're diminishing your blackness, whatever that means. You know, it just means that this is a woman, that person's a man, we're having a conversation, we're all Americans here.
I mean, it's just like, first of all, February is the shortest month of the year,
right.
So why do we even have that one?
Exactly.
Secondly, he's right. Black history is American history.
Is it?
It is our history with white people.
Yeah.
It's our history with Native Americans. It's our history with Asian Americans. It's our history with it is American history. Mm-hmm. I think those people they earn the right to be called Americans and just be part of American history, like George Washington.
I know. Now, I will say this. I do wish that schools will start telling all history, the entirety of our history, including slavery and all this stuff, right? In a real way. But they're not. They're not doing that. They're not doing it the right way. So black people are saying, what they're saying is that we have to have this month to teach, kids and people and to have, or at least recognize all the black people that came before us that they don't normally ever even talk about. Now, I will say that I think that all that should be taught in schools. They reduce everything to Martin Luther King, Frederick Douglass, Sometimes Booker T. Washington, not
Madam
that much.
C.J. Walker.
You got
Martin Luther King.
King.
Not even Malcolm X. Sometimes they try to keep him.
They
out.
don't let
look
talk
at him
about
as
Malcolm
militant.
He talks a
you
little
know.
too. So Malcolm X.
But you know,
stuff.
Crispus Attucks.
Yeah, but they don't really go into all of history. I don't know if kids will be able to retain that much information. So I'm sure they do it. They only talk about things that are. I feel like the schools only talk about things that are like the oppressed, the oppression stuff. They don't really talk about all the stuff. I'm not sure kids can retain all that information, anyways. But my point is that how do I feel about Black History Month? I don't like it. I don't see the point of it, to be honest with you. If we're all just talking about history, American history, then all of what's in Black history should just be talked about just as evenly as white people in this country.
Yeah.
So I don't think
that's why I don't like taking down statues.
I
and
don't
stuff
think
like
so.
That because
it's history.
Even though it looks
it's
like
history.
a lot of Black people get upset when they see like statues, like old statues of Lincoln,
right.
and then generals, and because it depicts a time period, and they tear them all down because they get offended. Everybody gets offended by it.
Yeah.
But the truth is that is what happened. There's this history. What you're saying, what you're trying to do, what you're allowing to happen is for some people to whitewash. History, and we don't want that. We want like the Holocaust. Jewish people make sure people remember those people,
right?
But they don't make that their whole life.
No,
you know what I mean. But they do honor that part of their history. You know what I mean, and the same way I do. But I don't honor it and using it as ammunition towards another race.
Yeah.
I use it as I need to do better because they were able to lift me to this point.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the way history should be used. It should not be used to be getting stuff and to make people feel bad about something that none of us really ever experienced. You know what I mean? And so a lot of things were different back in slavery times. I mean, I'm not. Slavery is a horrible institution.
The atrocities were ridiculous.
Things. Things changed because the world was changing. The Industrial Revolution changed everything. Machines do more than people. I mean, I think Candace Owens said the other day that it would have been bad for America to keep slaves. Simply because once machines came, we wouldn't have been. Machines can do more than people. So it was in our interest. It was even in their interest to get rid of slavery for that reason alone.
It's more efficient.
You know what I mean?
And stuff like
the other,
efficient.
Inhumane reasons. Most people were, Christian and they didn't believe in the policy of slavery. But like I said, slavery at that time was really the rule, not the exception. You know what I mean? And so I think like when you look at Black history, it has to be told. It has to be, to me, it just has to be a part of school. It doesn't have
That's
to be,
what I'm saying.
It doesn't have to be a month. It just has to be a part of school. And a lot of kids, like I know when I was in school, we always had to do like, when we were like in grade school, we'd do like little reports on, during history. We'd do like little history reports so everybody could pick a person from the past.
Recite your report,
And white kids always picked white people because they're white. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I picked Black people because I was black. I think I picked Madam C.J. Walker once because she was a Black woman and I was a Black woman.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know about it. Right. So I mean, and so a lot of white kids were going to pick, George Washington. Yeah. And because they have that connection too, because they are white kids. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that there's something wrong with them because they just want to learn more about their ancestors.
We implant that into kids' heads. It's not kids don't come out thinking that way. It's that we divide them. They separate it. And even like saying like this person was the first Black. This is the first Black Miss USA. This is the first Black doctor in the blah 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 blah. I understand the sentiment behind recognizing this is the first Black Miss USA. This is the first Black airline pilot. I understand the sentiment behind it, but I think that it's problematic. It's a problem. You know what I mean? I think it's a bit problematic because what you're doing is once again you're separating yourself from just the fact that this individual became a pilot. But to separate it, so we're always starting off a race. I think I was watching the coach Tony Dungy. I think he just talked about this with somebody, where the woman interviewer was saying, in the Super Bowl, both of the quarterbacks on each team were both black quarterbacks. It's the first time in history there's two black quarterbacks. What do you feel about that?
So let's talk about some history that's happening, this quarterback matchup. The first time two black QBs are facing off in a Super Bowl. Kansas City's Patrick Mahomes. It's his third time at the big game. First time for Jalen Hurts of the Eagles. Who do you think has the edge here?
Oh, the edge. You mentioned the historical part about the two black quarterbacks facing each other. You know, I'm in a place in my life where this is great for sports. It's great for football. But what would even be greater is that going down the road, we don't have to mention that these guys are black quarterbacks. They're just quarterbacks. They're outstanding football players that play on the two best teams in the National Football League.
And they are two remarkable quarterbacks.
And so he gave it its due, like I would have done. Mm-hmm. He gave it its due, attention, and said, yeah, I mean, it's very interesting that happened, and you're talking about the historical part of it, and that is kind of interesting that it happened. He said, but I think that it's more important to not always start things off as the first black, or now there's two black, blank, blank, blank. It's like he said, it has to be a point where we can just say, these are two great quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Their merit got them to where they are. Why are we so focused on the fact that these two men are black men? We should focus on their achievement and being great quarterbacks. But we can't do that. We don't do that. We always separate it. We start with race always. Always.
Also, when we get too emotional about first black things, mm-hmm. it also puts us in the position mm-hmm. to be manipulated.
Yeah.
Because when they see our emotions are so high, when we get these things, and they use these people to manipulate us. Like Barack Obama really didn't do anything for black people.
He didn't.
He did everything for LGBT community. But we were so high on him being black that we really didn't mm-hmm. notice. That's why he didn't get the same black vote he got the second time he voted. But the thing is, it's just like sometimes our anger that we get riled up can be used against us. It can deceive us. Like mm-hmm. we can be deceived mm-hmm. by always throwing up our fists. Because like Danielle was saying, that when we only talk about when you only tell say like someone's a quarterback because they're oh, how you feel about being the first black quarterback, you wonder sometimes if you were at some point when you become these jobs get filled by black people, or the Supreme Court, mm-hmm. or you wonder, did these people get it by merit, or did they get it because they were black and people just want us to be quiet? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? When we do mm-hmm. too much of that, it makes us at the end it makes us, to me anyway, mm-hmm. it makes me feel like, did we get it by merit, or did we get it because white people get tired of hearing us complain all the time, so just put anybody in it? You know what I mean?
I immediately start questioning it too. I'm like, well, why is there two black?
Like, remember when the Miss America, Miss USA, and Miss Teen America, they were all black in 1 year, and I questioned that. Because it was just this is historic. I'm sorry. I just don't.
Remember the Oscars when the host was a black person?
Whoopi Goldberg.
Chris Rock, I think.
I think it was Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, Whoopi Goldberg. I think so. The Lifetime Achievement was Sidney Poitier. Denzel won. Halle Berry won. Like all these people. And I think Denzel even got there and said, 2 birds with 1 stone, huh? He's trying to say, he can solve it. Everything has to be the first black, blank, blank, blank. When we do that, we really do ourselves as black people a disservice.
Yeah, we worship our skin. You know what I mean? It's like, it's
really
almost like
weird.
We start worshiping God and we start worshiping our skin. You know what I mean? Everything becomes about our race. Everything. Mm-hmm. I mean everything. Mm-hmm. The other day after the Super Bowl happened, I think Brandon Tatum put up a video of, what's her name? The View, mm-hmm. and Sunny Houston, and they, the other lady on there, they go, oh, the first 2 black quarterbacks playing, and mm-hmm. God, like they said that he said, I guess, they said 2 black people, I guess they thought, they've been saying for years that black people couldn't be quarterbacks and stuff like that. And then he said, and then Whoopi Goldberg's like, oh, I knew it. Some people are just slow. I'm like, why does everything have to be about our race?
Why?
All the time.
It always is.
Literally, it is. They started off with that, and then they just went on. It was that whole thing was just about being black. Mm-hmm. Even the ladies on the panel who are white were acting like, you know what I mean? It's just like everything that we talk about is always about our pigment. Mm-hmm. And I am more than my skin color. I really am. It bothers me because I feel like
Even
like,
as
remember when Denzel Washington
yeah.
said you can't legislate love?
Yeah, that's true.
You can make all these rules that he told that man on the red
Yeah.
carpet, and the guy kept baiting him into
Yeah.
race questions, and Denzel was like,
Can't.
you work hard, keep families together. You
Yeah.
can't legislate love. You know what I mean? You can make all the laws in the world, but no one has
Yeah.
to love us.
I mean, even having this conversation right now, it's like, I can't believe that we're, that, like, I'm okay with, it's a good conversation to have because I think it needs to be dismantled. The frame of it is taking over the actual achievement of people now. It continues a narrative that needs to die.
I mean, it's just a little different. Even the fact that during the Super Bowl they had the white guy sing the American
country
guy,
yeah.
the national anthem.
National anthem.
You know what I mean? And then they had the black woman sing the black national anthem. So what are we trying to say? That this is a white song and this is a black song? The national anthem is our song for our country.
Yeah.
Some white people sat down.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's like, and people got all offended. I was like, why? You didn't get offended when Colin Kaepernick took a knee? I mean, why? So it's okay. They were uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable.
You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, they were uncomfortable. And some say, oh, well, that's what the whole point is, to make people uncomfortable. Okay. Well, then if Colin Kaepernick can make people uncomfortable as a black man, then let Carrie Lake sit down.
Yeah. I mean,
she has the right to do that. She doesn't need to get blasted for it, or she can. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
She made the choice. She's obviously strong enough to deal with it. And I don't see this ending very good at all.
But could you imagine a child looking at that and being like, why are they singing Daddy, why are they singing a different song? What is this song?
And
this is for the black people. But this is for the black people, honey. It's like,
why?
But why? But why? They're American.
Oh, so they're gonna sing Asian anthem too? No, just black.
Really? How about
Why not?
Hispanic anthem? Are Native Americans gonna come out and do their anthem too?
How about a gay anthem? Since we're also great about rainbows.
How about that? And I understand that a lot of people are not gonna like hearing, especially two black women up here saying that. I know the whole sellout thing, which is a regular for us, that we'll get. It's fine. It's fine. But I stand in what I say. Black History Month is problematic. Black history, however, is important to know, as is any other history. It's important to know. I was saying in I think in the other video that the Asians were instrumental in some of the infrastructure of our country.
And we never talk about them.
And we never talk about them. And very early on, very instrumental in our, the building of our country. So when we go around saying slaves built our country, can we talk about the
Asians?
What about the Asians? Why don't we talk about that? So I think there's a lot of problems but see, they decide not to divide themselves from us and separate themselves from their own country. You know why? Because they are here now. They're here and they are Americans, and they say that.
Have you ever seen that movie, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, with Sidney Poitier and Spencer Tracy? And there's a part where Sidney Poitier has a problem, a talk with his dad because he's marrying a white girl, and his father has a problem with him marrying a white girl, and even Spencer Tracy, they have a problem with him being black, dating their white daughter. You know what I mean? But it shows like the gap of the generations, because the father was lost in his blackness, and Sidney Poitier was like, you think of yourself as a black man, I just think of myself as a man. And that's kind of what Morgan Freeman was trying to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I am a man, and so are you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you ever kind of really want unity, you're going to have to see yourself as a man or a woman. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you don't have love for your race or the people that are in your race. It just means that you're an American and you live in this country, and that's one thing we all have in common. That we live here, and if we all want to be treated the same, we have to remember that. You know what I mean? And we have to remember that kind of first, because we are, if anybody attacks this country, they're attacking all of us, not just blacks, not just whites, not just everybody.
We're one
it's
country.
It's an attack on all of us. We are one,
It's called the United States of America.
One nation under God. You know what I mean? And so as long as we see ourselves as like this perpetual victim that needs to be stood out, and all the time everybody has to sort of bow to us and make us feel good about ourselves and affirm us, and everybody feels bad if they tell their point of view and they can't say it, and they always have to
be called racist
or
sell out,
and you know what I mean? It's just like, what kind of life is that? I don't want people to be around me and they feel uncomfortable with me because they think that I got some chip on my shoulder about something I hadn't even experienced. Like they don't think they can talk to you. You know what I mean? And you have to be able to talk to people.
But the second part of what you asked was about the I think it was the racism not being real. You said you're hearing that a lot. I am too. The people saying that racism isn't real. I feel like it stemmed from Jesse Lee Peterson because he went kind of viral when he said he doesn't believe racism is a real thing. He thinks it's a made up word, and that it was just something that a word that they use to create anger and keep black people having excuses for why they're not doing well, right? And so racism isn't real. So I follow along the lines of I believe there is racism. I'm not sure I believe it's not real, but I don't think that racism is the biggest problem plaguing the black community at all.
I think two things can be true here. Two things can be true. Racism can exist, and also it can be used to keep us in our feelings.
Right.
You know what I mean? I do think that people use racism to keep black people emotional.
Yeah.
But I do think it does exist. There is a thing where there are people who feel like they're superior because of their race.
So I don't totally agree with Jesse Lee Peterson and when he says that, although I understand what he's saying. Because what he's saying
is the difference between good and evil.
Yeah, he's saying it's a spiritual battle.
And
it's
is.
Not,
that is true.
It's 100% a spiritual. So he's saying it's a spiritual battle and not just about black and white and all that stuff. It is. It's between good and evil. So he's sticking with that part of it. What he's saying is that racism isn't real. The word is just made up. Well, honestly, words are made up. So they have meaning. A word is made up and a meaning is attached to that word. So I think that the word racism is accurate.
I think there is a such thing of good and evil when it comes to racism.
Yeah.
But I also think there's ignorance also.
I
think there are some white people that have just never been around black people, and then what they see of black people is only on television, so they don't really know black people. But I also know that that's true the other way around.
Yeah.
I know there are black people who are never around white folks, and they don't know how to be around white folks who've gone through a lot themselves. And they don't want to hear it either.
Yeah.
Because then that takes away from your own oppression. You know what I mean? I see that all the time. You know what I mean? I know black people who really don't know black and white people. They don't really know.
Or don't want to have even a conversation with white people that make them uncomfortable.
And they just sound just as ignorant as white people who aren't ever around black people.
Right.
Because when you're only around your own experience all the time, like say you're like black and you live in like the hood and stuff. If you're only around those people and you don't know anybody, even if you don't even know black people who are successful, you can become ignorant to just knowing what's around you all the time. Right. Until you get out of your own way and learn other people. And this is why it's not good to jump to racism. It's good to talk to people. And so they can tell you their point of view and where they come from. And you can understand it's the meeting of the minds. But it's just like when you just jump to, there's white privilege. You know what I mean? It's just like, well, there is also black privilege. You just go, you think that white comedians can just make fun of black people? I'm talking about really make fun of them. You really think that they can do that? But you can bet black people can do that to white people. Yeah. And you know what I mean? So it's just like we have a privilege too. We have a privilege of saying whatever we want to say and not get canceled.
If a white person says something that's like, I guess you would say racist, but they're not doing it in a malicious way. They just said something that was inappropriate and they need to be corrected. You know what I mean? But not in a malicious way. This actually happened to me. I was checking in this lady, it was a white woman, and she was here for some convention, and she said that I looked like somebody she knew from her town, and she's from the outskirts of Indianapolis, right? So some of the outskirts of Indianapolis are just like white. I mean, they're really, really white, you know? And so she said, "Oh, you look just like these are words. You look just like one of the colored girls in my town, right?" And so, she went on to compliment me and stuff. I said, "Can I just say one thing?" And she's like, "Sure." And I said, "So, saying colored girls could be a bit derogatory now." I took zero offense to it, by the way, guys, because I got that she's not from my. You know what I mean? Like her world is not like largely black. Obviously there's like one black person or two where she's at. And I'm like, instead of getting rude and mad at this lady, and saying, "I'm not no color girl," getting upset, I just kind of took that opportunity to tell her that's like an inappropriate thing to say to a black person. She's like, and she immediately went into, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I had no idea." I'm like, I think you say black or people say African American or whatever. This is what I'm trying to say. We don't ever take those times. We just talk to people. just talk to people, and maybe she learned something. You know, and she said she was embarrassed. So I knew that she wasn't coming at me like she was embarrassed because she had no idea.
I was just yesterday. I was watching the Dean Martin celebrity roast, and they were roasting Frank Sinatra, and they had a panel. I mean, I think it was everyone from Jimmy Stewart to Ronald Reagan to Nipsey Russell.
Yeah.
I think Red Fox was on there, and LaWanda Page that also played on Sanford and Son, and Don Rickles.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, those
Don
jokes
Rickles are, man, y'all.
between Milton Berle and Don Rickles and making fun of black people, and those black people getting right up there, and they're all cracking up
Because it's funny.
because you cannot do that anymore. You know what I mean?
sad.
The jokes that they made, I mean, they really hit under the belt. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
with
with,
just the
sexist,
calling black people spades and stuff,
racist.
and black people laughing, and the black people going up there making all kinds of white jokes, and that was and women going up there and being roasted by men and taking it and laughing, and I think that
age discrimination,
all
of it.
and just anything.
Yeah.
I mean, Don Rickles was made fun of Italians. He was going on about blacks. And everybody on the stage was either Italian, black, Jewish, a woman. You know what I mean? And they make fun of gay people, and everybody was just cracking up. Red Fox went up there and roasted almost every white person on the stage. LaWanda Page did that to Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra, and they all love her. I mean, they liked her. You know what I mean? And that was just a thing. You know what I mean? And it's funny.
We've lost our ability
We've lost our ability to laugh at
to
ourselves.
laugh at ourselves, and this is why I don't take offense to a lot of things. I
And we are
don't.
much more freer even in the 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, people aren't as racist as they were even in that time, you know, of that time period. And they were still allowed to laugh at themselves. Now, we're here we are 2023. I think that was 1978. Here we are at 2023, and we get so offended so quickly over things that aren't even racist.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean?
Like,
You just take offense to it,
Yeah.
and you're just canceled.
that was a genuine kind of like a racial situation I was in, right? For someone to call me a colored girl, and you know, at the time it was 2020. That was a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I could have just went off on that lady and lost it. But why do that? Why not
Yeah.
take the opportunity? Why
when-
not be level-headed and maybe take the opportunity to maybe see that this woman
Maybe
is
just
from
know.
a different part? And look, I'm born and raised in Indiana, right? So I know some of the outskirts of Indiana, and most of them
A lot of Klan activity.
a lot of
happening
Klan
in
activity,
Indiana.
yes.
Yeah,
So
you know.
it's not. I know where this woman is probably from, and she told me the county she was from. So I know that is a predominantly. When I say predominantly, a pretty much all white area, and so I would have to understand why she said that.
In the time of, you know, the 50s, being colored was just what we were called.
That's what you call it.
You know what I mean? It was a step up from being
Yeah.
called the N-word.
If you never
know
get
what I
out,
mean?
if you never get
So,
out of
you
your
know, we've
town,
been colored,
Yeah.
we've been a Negro, we've been
Yeah.
African Americans. So, you know, some people just like Daniel, when I was in New York, I had an Asian manager I had an Asian manager that came up to me,
remember this.
and he asked me, could I work in another section because, you know, he said, you don't mind working in another section because this person has to go take lunch. And I said, no, sure, I can go. And he said, you know what, Kara, like, he said, he said, you're different, you're interesting because you're not like a lot of black women. And I was like, well, I mean, you know,
He's
I was
Asian,
like, okay.
yeah.
Now, when he said it, I don't think he meant it
he didn't.
offensively. I think what he generally meant is that every time I ask other black people that work here,
They get mad.
They get mad, sassy, and angry, and I
Yeah.
know that because I work with them. You know what I mean? And so he was just like, I said, okay. I said, look. And he was just like, he said, did I say anything? I said, no. Look, I get what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I said, but you have to be careful about saying stuff like that because it will come off as discrimination. He's like, okay, I'm sorry. You know, sometimes people
Just don't know.
Some people just don't know, or they just they see something they didn't see before, and they just say it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And they don't mean it in any real harm. Sometimes you have to just listen to people. They're not trying to hurt you. Sometimes they just want to learn, and you could be saving them from saying it
I know.
again if you just get out of your feelings a little bit and understand
Right.
that everything isn't against you. Everything isn't always about you.
Not everybody's like you. Not everybody's from where you're from. Not everybody's
Right.
seen what you've seen. You know, I mean, even me as a black woman, when I moved to New York, that was a culture shock.
Yeah.
Just and I'm
Because in Indiana, before we moved to New York, it was really only Mexican people,
Yeah.
maybe, and then just black and white people. There weren't a lot of Indian people, and but when I went to New York, I never met
Oh
a
my God.
Jamaican person. I never met a Haitian person. I met so
All
many people that were black,
Dominican.
from all over the world that I'd never seen, that I've never seen. I never met a Jamaican person. I never met a person from
Russia and-
South Africa,
I'm like, what?
or even Kenya.
Yeah.
I never met all of these black people that are from all over the world. They're just black people in America
Mm-hmm.
that I knew. You know what I mean? And so when I went there, I was in a culture shock, because not only when I thought of Spanish, this is embarrassing then, but
Mm-hmm.
when I thought of Spanish, I just thought of Mexican. I forgot about everybody else because I didn't grow up around them. I
Yeah.
only grew up, if you were Spanish, you were Mexican.
That's it. But when you go to a city like New York, I went in ignorant, not even knowing. I was ignorant.
Everybody can have an ignorant moment.
It doesn't
You
have
know
to
what I mean?
be. Yeah,
and
I
you have
had
to be
one.
okay if you don't want to yourself. If you say something ignorant, you don't want people to just be mad at
Yeah.
you. You want them to kind of help you.
Now, when we talk about racism, when we say racism isn't real, people saying racism isn't real. So yeah, I mean, I think that racism is real. I think that there are actual racist situations that happen. I'm not so, I have my head in the sand enough to not understand that I've been called the N-word before. I'm just saying.
I have too.
I've
been
had,
called,
and that's here in Indiana, so I've been back along those years ago, but I was called that, and I've been in a situation before where I worked at a clothing store, and I was actually the manager of the store, and there was a customer that didn't want me to ring them up, and she just kept pointing to the white associate to bring her up, and I was like, no, I'm doing the cashier part right now today. She's not doing that, and she leans over and tells me she doesn't want a N-word to ring her up, and so our mall had a no tolerance policy on any of this. So she said it so loud that she said it, and so people heard it. So she was escorted out. But I've been put in actual. So my point is that I have been in a racist situation where I have been the subject of that. So I know that it exists.
I used to work at a jewelry store, and this guy wanted to return something. He didn't even come all the way in. He kind of just came through the front part, and he said, I need to return this in a minute. I said, well, I'm the manager. And he's like, I'll wait till some white person comes. I said, well, you'll be waiting a long time because I'm the manager. You know what I mean? And so then he left. But that didn't change my life. I actually felt more sorry. I feel sorry for people.
Me too.
Because that's an ignorant thought.
And
you know what I mean? But it didn't change me.
right.
It didn't make me want reparations. You know what I mean?
Well, no,
it didn't make me
because
want,
because I know that look, again, America is not a racist country, but there are definitely racists in the country.
But if you go to any country,
there's going to be
racist people.
And by the way, I have seen black people say some extremely derogatory, heinous, disgusting things about white people. And so that is racist. That's racist. You think that your race is better than their race, superior in some way than their race. And people are, black people can't be racist. That's the whole thing. No, black people can't be racist. Okay, well, I do not believe that. And that's just, to me, ignorant and just kind of asinine.
So we can't be wrong, everybody else can be.
So we can get
We
away
say
with
rude
being ignorant like
stuff
that.
and be angry all the time, but we're not racist no matter what. You know
I just
what I mean?
don't. I don't know. I don't. But again, to me, when it comes to the whole racism talk, I believe that it is real. I just don't think that it is the biggest thing, biggest problem with the black community right now.
I do think it's the black family
Structure
that has broken.
Yeah.
I think it's the matriarch,
Yeah.
the uplifting of the matriarch, the breakdown of the family. You know
Welfare.
what I mean? I think it's our educational
yeah.
system and how they teach us in school.
Abortions.
All of those things. I think it's
look,
more
so
that,
many
so
things
many
happen.
things that happen.
And then we can kind of find racism in there, maybe. But I really, honestly, with the way things are going today, I don't see how that's even in there.
I think Andrew Tate said that racism is for poor people.
Yeah,
and he's saying that because that is
It's really
true.
funny.
All of these wealthy people, they don't care about race.
They don't.
They all care about green. That's what they care about. And the thing is that everybody who's not like wealthy, we're the ones who get riled up over black and white and all those things because it keeps us occupied
It does.
mentally. We can fight each other but not look at the people who are running the puppet masters.
Right.
We're not focusing it on them. We're focusing on each other. And we're not really talking about what the real issues
problems,
are.
yeah.
Because when you look at a lot of the black communities in the country, that is not about racism. That is about That is about a breakdown of the family. That is about no men in the house. That is about no authority figure in the house. That is about, a single mother issue, education that's crappy in those neighborhoods. You know what I mean? And so that to me is, because everybody in the neighborhood's black, we have to look at ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At some point, we have to take
Businesses
responsibility.
are down. Things like people don't want to build in our
Communities.
because of riots. People don't really want to build anything in our communities because they're afraid that they're going to get torn up. You know what I mean? So we have to take self accountability. If we don't do that, then money and all of this recognition isn't meaning anything. It doesn't mean anything. We can sit here and talk about all the black people have done being successful, but after knowing all of that, knowing about Booker T. Washington, knowing about Martin Luther King or whoever what we call Danielle called the celebrities, the ones we always point to. Knowing all of this hasn't really made us better.
Yeah.
If we know better, we're supposed to do better.
So why aren't we? Yeah. What is the holdup here? How long are we gonna sit here?
Are you gonna sit there and say it's because reparations and white people? I'm sorry, I'm not. I don't think
how long?
How long? We can't keep playing that card. When do we look at ourselves and think, when do we show up in our own race?
If we keep screaming racism, we keep pulling the racism card. People are not. They're going to be put off. They're already, but they're going to be very put off by us, and we're not going to be able to function in our own country. It's like you got to quit screaming racism all over the place. It's like we had a real quick before we go. 'Cause I'm going to get off this one, but we had a subscriber send a little quick video to us, and I think he's white. I think he had an accent though. I'm not sure. Don't worry, I'm not gonna. If he's watching, I'm not gonna put your video up here. I don't want to, out.
He sent us a video.
He sent us a little video, but he was just saying.
He was young.
Yeah, he was young, but he was saying he looked white, but he was saying in the video that it's hard talking to black people because black people get really upset. Like when you talk to white people, for the most part. White people are pretty much, they'll give their opinion, maybe tell you if they, what you're doing right or wrong, or they'll agree or disagree. Generally speaking, you'll get through the conversation, more of a debate. But when you talk to he said, when you talk to black people, it's really hard. Like, they get so upset. And I'm like, see, that's what I'm saying, is that there's going to be a point where they're just sick of us.
Yeah. I've been saying that.
They're just sick of us.
I can see that happening.
Yeah.
When you see someone like Bill Maher, a lifelong Democrat.
Yeah.
Who's mostly dated black women.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Lifelong Democrat. Turn around and then start telling truth about slavery. Start telling truth about, men playing in women's sports. And start saying, come on with this them-they stuff. You know what I mean? When a guy like that, a diehard liberal, starts to just be like, come on. We're making buffoons of ourselves. This is not the Liberal Party I was a part of. You know what I mean? When you have people like that, like Jimmy Dore, who's even further to the left than Bill Maher.
Yeah, starting to
sound like a Republican.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's just a common sense.
Right.
There's something that's happening with the Liberal Party that's just becoming, just common sense is gone.
I think that focusing so much on race is just a huge problem. I think it's very problematic, and we're not going to get anywhere if we keep pulling that card. So that's what I have to say about that. So let's know what you guys think about all of these topics. We'd love to hear your opinion on it. Leave some comments below. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel. We would greatly appreciate that. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.